Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Thunder breaks, the ground is shaking from the weight. Voices crying in the night, but freedom burns a steady light. We hold the line, we won't let go. Through every trial, the truth will show. This is your daily dose. Open your eyes, see through the smoke, see through the lights. Rise from the silence, hear freedom's call. One voice, one people, united we stand tall.
Hearts awaken, chains undone. A new day breaks, the dawn has come. Through every battle, through the flame, our faith in God remains the same. The storm may rage, the night may fall, but hope will answer stronger than all.
This is your daily dose. Courage and fire, lifting the weak, lifting us higher. Not by the sword, but the truth we recall. Where we go, we've seen the darkness try to reign. We've felt the sorrow, we've known the pain. But every trial has forged the steel. In God we trust, His plan is real.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Repill Project's Daily Dose. Live with you Monday through Friday. Hope everybody is doing well out there. It is Thursday. Oh, man, this week is going by fast. You know, it was interesting. I saw a meme out there and it said, in 4 months, it's going to be 2027. And 6 years ago, it was 2019. Or 7 years ago, it was 2019. Where does time go, man? Wow. Just seems like yesterday, doesn't it? Man, but we got some news for you today. A little bit happening. And like we said, it's going to be this drip flood aspect of things. And today, a little bit more news came out about that, a little bit more declassification of documentation. But, you know, you have to start perceiving what the Trump administration is truly doing. And I know a lot of people out there, they're hypercritical of the Trump administration, as you should be as an American citizen. Now, I've explained this, at least from my perspective, as much as I possibly can. And I hope that people are starting to catch on, because I get all different types of replies to my comments on X or my videos here on Rumble or direct messages of people asking me, like, where's the accountability? Why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't this happened? And one of the things I'll tell you is because Donald Trump will do things when Donald Trump wants to do things. He is the master at timing of understanding when Donald Trump wants to do things. I think that is one of the most important parts here. Now, when we go into the idea of kind of what has happened over 2025, okay, 2025, did we have the mass declassification that we thought? Depends on how you look at it. What are we talking about in the context of declassification? Pfizergate, Russiagate, 2016 election, 2018 midterms, COVID-19. Well, then we didn't have much. But did we have a banger of declassification that actually came out during that time? Well, we did. You know, in March of last year, DNI Tulsi Gabbard, she released a document, which is the smoking gun evidence out there that interlocks the DNC, the Open Society Foundation pre-2016 election into Pfizergate, Russiagate, Mueller, impeachment 1, impeachment, all the way up to the 2020 election. That email was released. That's Lenny Bernardo's email that you can find from the Open Society Foundation that's directed towards an executive director out there in Eastern Europe. Interesting there. And it talks about all of the various different aspects of what we've been talking about for a long time. Number one, Julianne Smith, the foreign policy advisor for the Clinton campaign, contacts at Lenny Bernardo and says, yeah, hey, we are on. Hillary Clinton's going to move forth with the Russian compromise and the Russian scam against Donald Trump. And then they said, oh, well, we don't have the media yet. We're going to get CrowdStrike and Threat Connect, two of our partners, to go ahead and do that. This is so critically important. To me, that was 2025. That was a massive piece of evidence, because this is when initially the grand juries began to form. Yeah, James Comey's been indicted twice and nothing's happened from it. I understand that, but I think that there's more to come. I think what they were trying to do with James Comey is they were trying to pressure James Comey into a position to where he would squeal like a pig, where he would sing like a bird. And I think that he actually did, because we know James Comey is one of the primary people that are at the focus of the grand jury that's occurring right now in the Southern District of Florida. You have Joe DeGeneva, and then you have Jason Redding Quinones. So you have that going on right now. Now, going back to that email and why that was so important, there's other things that happened during 2025. If we looked at it, what it was more of a setting the stage for what is to come 2026, 2027. What do we mean by that? Well, the Trump administration, they took their time doing things. And I think that they did this on purpose and very methodically. The Epstein is the greatest example. And I talk about this all the time, but I think it's important to reiterate it over and over and over again. The Epstein disclosure that came out in 2026 was a methodology of information warfare to draw in people into the understanding of what this was about. I've said this multiple different times. 2019, nobody had any clue who Jeffrey Epstein was. If he was prosecuted in New York City, no one would have cared. But after 2025, everybody knew who the hell Jeffrey Epstein was. It was a table conversation at dinner time with your family. Why? Because Elon Musk throws a little quote out there. Oh, Donald Trump's in the Epstein files. And the liberal left media went absolutely mad. And then all the lefties begin jumping on it. The lefties start researching, digging, and investigating. Now, I want you to think about that because there's something that actually happened in 2024, immediately after the election. A lefty CIA operative comes out and claims that Elon Musk and Donald Trump stole the 2024 election by utilizing Starlink to hack the ES&S and Dominion servers. So what did you get? You get these massive conspiracy theories that begin forming on all these various different back channels and social media networks pertaining to Donald Trump stole the election from Kamala Harris. So what do the people on the left begin to do? They begin to research and investigate. They begin to dig. How is this possible? Is this plausible that you can steal an election through satellites? No, it's nonsense. But in my opinion, that was a psychological warfare operation directed towards the left to get them to start understanding how elections can be stolen through open networks, through internet connections, how ESS and Dominion machines actually work. Then you go into the Epstein. They start researching, investigating that. They start seeing all the connectivity. Yeah, their primary focus is Donald Trump. But if you look at the 40,000-foot view, there's much more there than Donald Trump. Bill Clinton over 128 times on the island. So what we see here is a setting of the stage of the narrative that Donald Trump is getting ready. The drip and drip, 2024, 2025, this is the drip session. 2026, this is the drip session. And right now we're having more and more documentation released, declassified, that is another piece of a bigger puzzle. And what I believe is going to happen is that those pieces are all going to fit together in due time. And when they fit together, they're going to show the grand conspiracy. This is like why Joe DeGeneva, the special assistant to the attorney general, special attorney to the attorney general, is down in the Southern District of Florida running a grand jury. He took this case over, which is a grand conspiracy case. And the first thing that he immediately did was segregated all of the information. He said, hey, instead of looking at this as just the grand conspiracy 2014 into 2024, let's segment this. Let's look at the 2016 ICA. Let's look at FISA and Russiagate. Let's look at the 2016 election. Let's look at the midterms. Let's look at the 2020 election. Let's segment this and then focus on the players and the actors that were involved in each one of these operations. And that's pretty damn genius. Right now, a lot of this is being held up by declassification of documentation that is coming from various different intelligence agencies, primarily the CIA. Paul Sperry, which not a lot of people like, but I don't mind Paul Sperry. He put this out the other day. He put this out yesterday. And then he kind of reamped it up today, where he claims he got more intel. But I'm going to pull this up because I think that this one's actually important, because I do believe that this is actually legitimate, what Paul is saying here. Pull this up, bring this onto the big screen. He says right here, a well-placed sources tell me FBI headquarters is inexplicably holding back from declassification of 400-page report plus 7 KPP of supporting docs by FBI OPR investigating the Crossfire Hurricane probe that implicates John Brennan, the Five Eyes, in the 2016 Intel op targeting Trump. Okay, this is the Rosetta Stone that they've been waiting for. Now, he came back and he said, update, FBI now says other equities in the Intel chain are holding up the release. Bottom line, where is this massively important Russiagate document and why hasn't it been daylighted still after 5 years? Agreed. Now, other equities, what does that mean? What do other equities mean? We cannot release this yet because other agencies, the CIA, or protected interests are implicated. In other words, the document implicates the 7th floor of the FBI, various different parts of FBI's CI counterintelligence department, as well as their connectivity directly to the Central Intelligence Agency and various different sources and methods utilized by the Central Intelligence Agency. And then also Five Eyes intelligence. This also implicates MI6. Probably, I wouldn't say, I don't want to go too far into New Zealand, Australia, but MI6 for sure. Ukrainian intelligence was involved in this. When you go back, man, you know, we start to look at this. We get more and more information every day about what happened. And it's really, really interesting. And I think that this is one of the reasons we're able to articulate kind of this whole thing that operated. Now, the reason why I think is one of the most important, people don't truly understand why they targeted Donald Trump and went after Donald Trump. This wasn't necessarily the context of losing power. It was losing control of that power, of which that power was already threatening to throw them under the bus for the criminality they have done. In other words, Donald Trump was targeted in 2014 to 2016 primarily because of the criminality conducted by the Obama administration from 2008 to 2016. And you'd say, well, what criminality did the Obama administration do? Oh, well, I mean, Fast and Furious, Benghazi, Extortion 17. By the way, anniversary of Extortion 17 today. You got Uranium One. You have a series of executive orders that Barack Obama put in place. One of them was actually very specific, and Donald Trump reversed this in 2018, quite interestingly. In February of 2009, Barack Obama signed an executive order that basically allowed China into U.S. critical infrastructure. Not only into U.S. critical infrastructure, but the manufacturing, the processing, and the supplying of various different parts. Very, very critical components of the U.S. electric grid were outsourced to China. This came to a head in 2018, 2019, when we had a power outage in the Northeast that took out the power of multiple different states. And that power outage, there was a special transformer that we used to source inside of our country that is now being sourced from China. Well, the problem with the transformer is that they're incredibly complex to develop and make, and they were 6 months on backlog. In other words, the U.S. had no reserves and it was 6 months on backlog. What they had to do is they had to go and take some from another part of the electric grid that could hold the capacity that it still had to get that up there. And it was electricity was out for 2 weeks. That is so critical to understand that Barack Obama, it was through various policies and regulations that the Democrats did that started to undermine the United States Constitution. 2018, President Trump ordered an executive order kicking Yahweh out of our country. In other words, this main focus comes on China, but more preferentially, communism. We have the Muslim Brotherhood infiltration throughout the Obama administration. Valerie Jarrett being probably an agent for Iran primarily. You know, this was put out there by many different whistleblowers during that time. Phil Haney, if people remember him, one of the founding members, senior executive staff of the Department of Homeland Security in 2010, came out as a whistleblower and started talking about the Muslim Brotherhood infiltration that was being propagated and supported by the Obama administration into our local or state governments, as well as into our police force, and the weakening of various different laws and policies to allow this to happen. And if you don't understand this, Zaid Abidine was one of the founders of the, I believe it was called the Muslim Council back in the 1960s, which became one of the primary financiers for the Muslim Brotherhood. His daughter was a woman by the name of Huma Abedin, who just happened to be the chief of staff to Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. Why does that make a difference? Because she was a handler of Hillary Clinton. So when we start to go back and we look at what was going on prior to 2016, it was the undermining of the United States of America to basically bring it to its knees so that a one world government could be implemented. We call this the 16-year plan. 8 years of Barack Obama, and then eventually it was supposed to be 8 years of Hillary Clinton. Many people have came out and kind of blown the whistle on the 16-year plan of how it was supposed to go. Barack Obama lays the foundation, the laws, the policies, the regulations, the executive order. Hillary Clinton comes in and immediately engages in warfare in Eastern Europe with Russia. Now, this is kind of interesting because when you go back to the debate time in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, one of the things that you see is her rhetoric on Vladimir Putin increases massively to the point where Vladimir Putin is coming out basically saying, F you, Hillary Clinton, I hope you never become president. And Russia actually left the nuclear proliferation treaty after Hillary Clinton said that when she becomes president, she is going to put up a missile defense shield in Ukraine and Poland and on Russia's border. Now, why is that interesting? Because it kind of not contradicts what we're seeing right now, that Russian preferred Hillary Clinton. I don't think Russia preferred Hillary Clinton in 2016. I think that they understood that Hillary Clinton was more manageable because Russia had compromised directly on Hillary Clinton, which they knew that she couldn't follow through with those things that she was talking about because they had enough dirt on Hillary Clinton to put her down for good. On Donald Trump, they had none. I think that's why they say that Russia was more preferential towards Hillary Clinton. But what ended up happening of all this? Donald Trump walked in. And we've heard it multiple different times, but not a lot of information has been put out there that Hillary Clinton had planned to steal the 2016 election. We hear this all the time, but you start to look at it and you don't find any information on how Hillary Clinton was trying to steal the 2016 election. Well, this is where I come full circle. This is where we come back in to the gist of things, right? Is when we go to Eastern Ukraine, we go to Burisma. Burisma at the time in 2015, 2016 was in direct relations with the Obama administration through Vice President then Joe Biden, whose son was on the board of directors of Burisma. Burisma was a very, very interesting corporation. Number one, the oil and gas exploration, but they were in Eastern Ukraine, which means that they had geographical proximity to basically spoof Russian IP addresses. Now, go back to that email that I first talked about when we talked about Lenny Bernardo and Open Society Foundations and George Soros and Julianne Smith, the foreign policy advisor, the HRC, and all of that. This is where all that actually comes into play, because in 2019, during Donald Trump's perfect phone call, he discusses with then new President Zelensky of Ukraine, hey, do you have the server? I'd like to have my DOJ take a look at it. You know, Burisma. He's talking about the CrowdStrike server. He even mentions CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike had a server in Ukraine. Why? Why was that server in Ukraine? What was it doing in Ukraine when this is primarily a DNC IT company? Now we start to get into everything that's happening in this country right now. Various different water treatment facilities around various different states, 7 of them right now. Majority of them utilize CrowdStrike and various different affiliated entities that all have connectivity back to China, back to the Mossad, and we have to start asking questions. And I mean, I don't want to give people a history lesson here, but I think it's important time in and time again to go over this information to understand that where we are at today is putting the pieces together, not for you, not for me, not for Donald Trump, but for the people who completely missed this and it was never reported to, the people who had no idea what was going on. Because at the next point of what's going to come, what happens next, if indictments do begin to roll out, the American people have to be fully understood of what is going on. The American people cannot be left out of the loop of what is about to occur. The American people need to be well informed. So when we start to understand that the American people need to be well informed, this is why we have this whole perspective of drip, drip, flood. Because you have to set that narrative and scenario. Sorry, I had to go in here. You have to set that narrative and scenario. You have to set the groundwork, the base foundation to get people up to date with what was happening before you can do what's happening now, before you can get to where you need to go. I hope that makes sense. And I could go into the historical part. I could go into all of that more and more. If you're interested in that, just go check out my earlier shows. I think even yesterday we did a whole history lesson. And maybe that's how I'm going to start opening my shows, is with these history lessons. I like doing this kind of stuff. But let's get into a little bit of the news that we have today. Yesterday, Dan Scavino posting once again, Donald Trump grabbing some popcorn, as in Dan Scavino is nudging us, hey, something's about to happen, man. Well, interesting enough, he posted at 0004 military time. Some of us come here to drop crumbs, just crumbs. POTUS is 100% insulated. Any discussion suggesting he's even a target is false. POTUS will not be addressing the nation on any of these issues as people begin to get indicted and must remain neutral for pure optical reasons. To suggest this is the plan is false and should be common sense. Focus on military intelligence, state secrets. That's what we're seeing dripping out in the context of declassification, and why they may be used versus any 3-letter agency. What the Supreme Court decision to open the door for a sitting president to activate was showed. Why is POTUS surrounded by generals? Again, there is a lot more good people than bad, so have faith. This was a hostile takeover from the evil, corrupt network of players, not just the Democrats. Don't fool yourself into thinking Obama, Soros, Roths, Clintons, etc. have more power present day than POTUS. Operation Mockingbird. Patriots are in control. Sit back and enjoy this show. So we look at context, sit back and enjoy the show. That's right. That's why you got popcorn. So absolutely 100% contextual reference frame there with that decode. But what does that mean? I don't know. It could mean nothing. It could be absolutely nothing. It could just be Dan Scavino playing with an odds. Or, like we saw today, a little bit of information dropped. A little bit of information drops. Oh, well, this starts to tie the whole story together. Now, one thing I want to talk about is yesterday I was talking about this. Now there's more information on it. You had a foiled attempted assassination attempt the other day on Donald Trump. This one person was found scoping out the area. They found an AR-15, various magazines loaded in his vehicle. He was waiting for Donald Trump to come into California. I find that really interesting that it was California. But what we didn't hear until a day later is that Marine One took off from the White House at 2:33 p.m. yesterday. But air traffic at nearby Reagan National Airport didn't stop as required by law, regulation, and policy, leading to the NTSB to consider investigating a possible loss of separation between the aircraft. The FAA said controllers were in contact with both pilots throughout the incident, and the White House stressed the president was never in danger. The incident is raising questions because the safety protocols were put in place to prevent exactly this type of conflict from happening after the deadly Reagan helicopter regional jet crash. Now, I look back on that regional jet crash and I asked myself, was that a dry test run to see if you could actually take out Marine One or something like that within close proximity if there's a floof at the airport to where air traffic controllers forget about the policy that was implemented and allow the 1 mile radius to be broken. Now, people are talking about why the 1 mile radius. And so President Trump came within 1 mile of colliding with a jet in Washington, D.C. Now, we think of 1 mile and like, oh, my God, it's 1 mile, Josh. That's far away. No, you have to understand the velocity of these craft. It seems like they're far away. All the plane at takeoff is going approximately 140 miles per hour, and Marine One would be traveling around 150 miles per hour. If they were traveling towards each other, that 1 mile is not really that far. Using math, velocity equals distance over time, we calculate the closing speed. The closing speed is if I have plane A moving at 200 or 140 miles per hour and Air Force One or Marine One moving at 150 miles per hour, closing speed is how fast will it take those planes to come in contact? Well, that's just adding 140 plus 150 to you get 290. Now you take that and say we want to calculate it for 1 hour, 1 over 290. You get 0.00345 hours or 0.207 minutes. In other words, 12.4 seconds. So that mile can be traversed in 12.4 seconds. And if you've ever had to make split thought decisions, that isn't necessarily enough time to do that. And that goes back to that whole scenario that happened at Reagan International last year, where the regional jet collided with the helicopter and everybody died. Stephen Miller says Trump's newly signed executive order will ban foreign nationals from lobbying and taking advantage of the U.S. It also banned birth tourism. So good, but it's an executive order. And what needs to happen with executive orders is that Congress needs to act on them and implement them as laws. One of the things that we always have to remind each other is that the president cannot make new laws. He can only sign laws in the power after it moves through two different houses, the House and the Senate. Through an executive order, this is more of an interim regulation and policy for the executive branch. This was determined by the Supreme Court of the United States during Donald Trump's first term when DACA actually went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court came out and said that an executive order is not law and that the average American citizen does not have to abide by an executive order, but instead it is nothing more than executive policy, to where all of the agencies and organizations under the executive branch must, through the executive order, implement those changes into how they conduct everyday business. But then it is up to Congress itself to make it a law. So what Congress needs to do is start making this shit laws, and they got to stop acting powerless and helpless to change in this country, because the majority of the time, all the power lays in the hands of Congress to make a difference in this country, because they are the ones that construct and pass the laws. Stephen Miller says Congress should step up and force all 50 states to hand over SNAP, Medicaid, and welfare data so the federal government can block fraud and non-citizens. He says, you have to ask yourself, why would any politician oppose something so fundamental, not even debating eligibility rules? You're debating whether or not a person is lying to the government to extract funds for which they are clearly ineligible. It's common sense. If every single person who wanted to enroll in SNAP or enroll in Medicaid or enroll in public housing was in a shared database that the federal government had access to verify age, citizenship, criminal record, other basic biographic facts, that single step alone would save taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. It's time to implement these reforms. And he's absolutely right. And it's crazy that these liberal, radical left states are playing this game. They're playing the game with federal taxpayer dollars. So what I would like to see is I would like to see Congress begin implementing restrictions, sanctions, if you want to call it, on these various different states. That if your state is going to play this game and your state is not going to do this, then Donald Trump issues a memorandum or an executive order and says, hey, then we're not giving you money. Well, the only way he can block that is through his signature when a bill comes in and that bill is funding those different states through grants or through emergency funding or whatnot. But it's ultimately up to Congress to go out there and say, hey, we're going to put in this implementation of the Comply with the Federal Government Act. And what it just means is that, hey, if the people in your state are receiving federal assistance, then the state has to disclose those people's information in a database that includes citizenship status, age, date of birth, etc., with the federal government so the federal government can manage the programs. I mean, that's fucking common sense, people, right? No. We having fun yet? Yeah, I think we're having fun. Hey, just a quick thing here. I updated the website a little bit. So if you guys go check out the website after this show, please go do that. Check it out. Let me know what you think. But I did update it. So there's some new stuff on there. Not new stuff, but I want to actually throw this out there. I got to throw this out there. Why? Because we got to throw it out there. That's why. So guys, I have an event coming up. I'm going to be at. This is the website. This is redpills.tv for anybody out there who is like, what? I didn't know Josh had a website. Yeah, dude, I got a website. But if you scroll down, you get this upcoming events right here. The Great American Restoration Tour. Go to learn more on the redpills.tv. This one is in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you are in Southern California, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, or any of those surrounding states, I expect to see you there. Don't cop out and just get the virtual tickets. I want you there. So this is September 17th to September 19th. So that's next month. And it's in Las Vegas at the Ahern, I believe. So go ahead on over to redpills.tv, click on those links, get your tickets, and be there or be square, man. Be there or be square. All right, pulling that guy down. Fauci has been held in contempt of Congress after an 8-5 vote in Senator Ram's Homeland Security Committee. He pleaded the fifth over 111 times last week, refusing to answer any questions about the COVID pandemic. It's now being referred to the DOJ, who will take it from there as well. Is that that Rand Paul has hand-delivered all of the information necessary to prosecute Fauci to A, the DOJ, and to B, the state of Florida's Attorney General. I think what you're going to see with Fauci is that the state of Florida is going to come out and probably issue some charges after a thorough investigation into Anthony Fauci. And from there, you'll see other states begin to do the same thing. And he is not immune from prosecution from these various different states. Today, what did we get? The White House Government Transparency Task Force, the WHGTTF, released intelligence community and FBI documents detailing an election cyber incident in which a self-described hacker extracted 633,000 voter registration files from Maricopa County site on the eve of the 2020 election. Well, what are they laying the foundation for? They are laying the foundation that our elections are not secure, that there is cyber intrusions directly into our elections, and that this is a national security threat, just like coming out and saying that China interfered and influenced the 2020 election. That's so critically important. We even showed how they did it. They stole over 100 million pieces of voter data, private voter data from over 18 different states. In other words, it shows that the state's voter systems are compromised. It didn't show that China flipped the vote, but it did show that China was actively utilizing intelligence and influence operations against the American people, which is the same thing as election influence, prosecutable under the DOJ and American laws. That's huge because this becomes the predicate, the legal predicate for declaring a national emergency on election integrity and infrastructure, which is one of the only primary ways that we can actually go out there and secure our elections prior to the midterms. And let me see here. John Solomon right here. Let's listen to this. And this is a reiteration of a lot of things I've been saying, but this is him on Bannon today.
We talked a lot about China and Iran, but you know what? The single greatest intrusion on our election the last 6 years is what the FBI, the CIA did to our country. They didn't put a thumb on our scale. They put a whole body on the scale of the election. They tried to pretend Donald Trump was a Russian asset when they knew it wasn't. They used Hillary Clinton's opposition research to do it. They misled FISA courts. They misled the American people. They expended tens of millions of dollars. They told us not to believe the Hunter Biden laptop when they knew it was real. They told us there was no evidence that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden had corrupt relationships when their files were chock full of it. The greatest intrusion in our election wasn't a foreigner. Our vulnerabilities to foreigners are high. The greatest intrusions to our elections were our own intelligence and law enforcement agencies from 2016 to early 2025.
He's not wrong. What is it? You know, one of the things that I think that we need in this country is massive reform within the bloated bureaucracy. I mean, it's a problem when you have 18 intelligence services. It's a problem when the FBI runs its own foreign intelligence services directly out of the FBI. Well, like, why? You know, the CIA obviously has way too much power, has been way too integrated in various different campaigns domestically and internationally. They run black market channels of running drugs and guns and toppling foreign governments and then controlling the resources thereafter, working with NGO infrastructures in between to launder money back to the political assets they know that will keep them in power, even in the U.S. We need to take that number of 18 intelligence agencies and drop that down to just 2: civilian, government, or civilian and military. Keep the Defense Intelligence Agency. That's really all you need. And then you can keep the Civilian Intelligence Agency, but consolidate it. Fire 90% of the damn people and bring it down to a thing that is manageable by Congress and usable for the United States for its benefit. That's what we need to do. At least that's my opinion of things. John Sullivan reveals 5 foreign powers have technology that flip votes on electronic voting machines: China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. I would also add in there Ukraine, going back to our previous conversations. And I know I didn't finish that.
And then, so let's shatter the next myth of the 2020 election, which is that the electronic voting machines were secure. You just said in your last answer that Venezuela can just straight up switch out electronically the votes. Please.
Yep. So beginning in January of 2020, the same time they warned about the vulnerabilities of the voter registration data, the intelligence community unanimously, albeit secretly, assessed that American voting machines could be compromised by 5 foreign powers. There were 5 foreign powers who could take the known vulnerabilities of the machines and potentially flip votes: China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela. They knew what the vulnerabilities were at that point. Nobody acted in the Trump presidency, at the end of Trump 1, or at any time in the Biden presidency to close those vulnerabilities down. And that becomes even more alarming when you realize 9 months after the first warning in January 2020, in September 2020, the CIA detected Venezuela taking a voter machine that worked a lot like American machines. It wasn't an American machine, but it had a lot of the protocols that we use here, so it was relevant to the United States. And they were able, in a controlled environment, to swap out votes. Now, it wasn't in a real election. It was a test. It was in a test environment. But they were able to get through the encryption, take out the votes that were filed, put in fake ballots and fake numbers, and then send them up to the central repository as part of a test. That was a red alarm inside the intelligence community. But you know what? Other than reporting it internally, secretly, nothing changed. And so we went through the 2020 election, the 2022 election, and the 2024 election with those same vulnerabilities sitting there. We basically stuck a glass chin out and told a foreign power, come on and punch us, because we haven't told the states, we haven't told the president, we haven't told the Congress. Now, to date, I've not seen anything, Benny, that said that a foreign power exploited and flipped votes. I haven't found a document that says any votes have flipped in any election. But it is gross negligence for our intelligence community to have left that glass chin unfixed for 6 months. Just because a foreign power didn't do it didn't mean it was the right thing to do. We should have hardened our defenses. That's why we have an intelligence community. They left us with a glass chin for 6 years, and that is no longer in doubt. That is no longer a conspiracy theory. It's another one that came true.
Yeah, it came true because here's the idea, is that our intelligence community and the FBI, the CIA and the FBI, they knew these vulnerabilities. They knew these things were happening, but they allowed it to happen, to continue to happen. Why? Because that's the only way that their masters, the left-wing radicals, could win elections and secure power. It's the only way that they could ever stay in positions of power. Now you have to ask yourself, with that understanding, how the midterms going to go? Oh, by the way, I want to do a 5-5. I got a text message, someone telling me that it's all static. I don't hear shit. Everybody's saying 5-5 on all different sides. For that person out there, maybe refresh or check your mic, your headset. But I sound pretty damn good over here from what I heard. If you guys hear static on the line, just let me know. But I can definitely check out my setup and see what's going on. Declassified records claim 2020 most secure election in American history. FBI records confirm it was absolutely not. And this is what we're talking about here. You have to slow drop the info so everyone can consume it before you open the floodgates. It's the whole idea of this show tonight. And this is talking about the 633,000 votes that were hacked prior to the 2020 election in Maricopa County. Is that this is setting a precedent, not a legal precedent, but an information trail for people to go back and start seeing boom, 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 this trail of information. As this trail of information begins to build up, it crescendos into potential indictments as well as the smoking gun evidence. And by that time, if the mainstream media or alternative media have done their jobs, people are well understood on what's happening. In other words, though, our FBI and our CIA deserve massive amounts of investigation, because even though we have patriots, we believe to be patriots in control and in charge of the FBI and CIA right there, they are still withholding information. They are still withholding evidence. They are still not releasing various different parts of testimony and allowing for declassification of documentation. They are still the gatekeepers for the 2020 election fraud and theft, for all the things that happened between 2016 to 2020. And they are still running various operations inside the U.S. and outside the U.S., which are criminally negligent and illegal. So we need to fix this shit. And, I urge Cash Patel to do exactly that. Now, some interesting news here. I came across this today, and I was like, uh-oh. I wanted to check and see. Okay, so Rumble sounds like glitchy and static on Rumble. That's not me, guys. Everybody on YouTube and this side is saying it's good. So apparently it's only a Rumble problem. So I apologize. I will hope that Rumble can fix that. Static and crackling. So so YouTube and Facebook and X, nothing. But on that side, it is. So I'm assuming that it's Rumble. So I apologize, guys. There's nothing I can do with that about that side of it on Rumble. But this is a story I came across. But here you go. The U.S. military cyber warfare unit is scrutinizing an unusually high number of deaths by suicide among personnel over a month-long period this summer, according to the government officials and other people familiar with the matter. So, in other words, you have the U.S. military cyber warfare unit. This is a very, very high-level unit of hackers that operate within the framework of the United States military. And over the course of the last month, there has been a mass amount of suicides amongst that small little group. What does that sound like? Sounds the same thing that's happened in the General McCaslin and all these people disappearing or dying of suicide. My thoughts, China, espionage, China going out there and trying to take out our cyber units that are uncovering a lot of the criminality. At least that's my thought. Other people are saying Rumble's good. All right. Mike Lindell, running for governor of the state of Minnesota, my state. I'll be voting for Mike Lindell. But he came out and said that he's going to be the 10th state to eliminate the income tax. Oh, my God. I don't think people understand how massive that will be for the state of Minnesota. Like, we pay an incredibly high amount of state income taxes. And by eliminating state income taxes, oh, my God. That's going to win him the election if that actually happens. This is crazy. Actually, I'm going to bring in Tammy for this one because this is nuts. This is crazy. Tammy.
What's up? How's it going? That's crazy. No tax in Minnesota?
That'd be nice, right?
Oh my gosh, no tax would be nice. We're taxed to death here in Colorado.
They have to do like a higher flat tax or something like that, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I saw this article. I don't know if you've seen this yet. For the first time, AI has designed complete viral genomes, producing 16 functional viruses that infect bacteria and pose no threat to people.
I have not seen that. Where'd you get that? Who's posting that? Who's behind that? Who's the research?
BBC. I don't know necessarily. I can throw it in the chat real quick. Let me do this.
So tell me what that means. So AI is developing its own sequence.
So basically what it is, and I'm assuming this is like Alpha Genome or something, is that AI is going out there and they're prompting it saying, hey, I have this bacteria. This is a bacteria that is so rampant, so contagious, we can't stop it. Salmonella or something like that.
Okay.
And I want you to develop a virus that's going to infect this bacteria, but will not infect the human host. And so AI has gone out there and began to generate over 16 different viruses that can basically infect and kill various different bacteria. Now, do you remember that scene? Have you ever seen Spaceballs?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Remember the last scene where they're at the diner at the end of the universe?
Yes.
And the guy's like, I'll have the special. And he brings him the special and he eats it. He's like, and he's on the table and the alien pops out of his stomach and says, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my rectum.
Yes.
Right. That's what I think of when I hear this type of shit, because that's what you're doing. Like when you're getting a virus to go kill a bacteria and you're putting that into a human being. I don't know about all this.
And the ecosystem, right? That's what I think of, because even the little microbes in our soil fit into the whole ecosystem of our planet, everybody. When you start effing with all of that, you're freaking me out. You're freaking me out because there's stuff that we don't even understand fully how the whole universe, the pieces of the tiny, universe fit together. We don't understand all that, and we're willing to upset the ecosystem. Very scary stuff. Very scary stuff.
Stanford researchers used EVO1 and EVO2 economic language models that generate complete bacteriophages genomes. Scientists then physically synthesized nearly 300 candidates. Only 16 produced functional virus capable of infecting and killing specific strands of E. coli. These are tiny virus modeled on the the Theta X174 that infect bacteria, not humans, animals, plants. But going back to your point, I took your advice and I went and listened to Zach.
Oh, you did?
On Joe Rogan. And I like it. I like him. I agree with a lot of what he says. And one of the things that really got me with what he was saying is what he said. He said that the difference between health and disease is we lost Tammy. Oh, there we are. The difference between health and disease is your body's capability to repair itself.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so simple. Like
it is. It is. We don't need names. Oh, you're gonna get me all worked up here, Josh. Because we do not need names for diseases.
Is that on my side or your side? Do you see your image blacking out?
It could be my side. We've had some technical difficulties
Jason!
I know. It's been a rough week.
Well, I can still
It's been
hear
a rough
you, so
week.
go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully it stays on, but not sure. It's a great new system if it will work. But yeah, so that's what freaks me out is that, this disruption of nature, right? Because everybody needs to understand the medical model was designed over 100 years ago, and it was designed specifically to match up with pharmaceutical drugs, okay? Pharmaceutical drugs are just a synthesized version of what already occurs in nature. So they can patent it and sell you back drugs. Well, guess what, everybody? They need little codes in the system, diagnoses, if you will, to match up with the drugs, okay? And so resist labels at all cost. Here's a good example of that. So there's over 300 different symptoms, if you will. I don't like to use the word symptom, actually, because it's not a symptom. It's a signal from your body, okay? Oh, the body is only giving you a symptom because it's trying to communicate with you. So when you get a communication from the body, that's just telling you that something needs to change. There's 300 symptoms for anxiety, Josh. There's 300 symptoms for MS, and they overlap. And you will find that with so many different, quote, diseases, okay? Nobody's case is identical to someone else's case. You may have similar signaling, but it's not identical. So what does that actually mean? We have a combination of inflammation. We have a combination of metabolic dysfunction. We have a overworked and overrun nervous system. This is what's happening, and the body's coping as best it can. And so if we can calm all that down, we can get down to the root cause of what's causing this expression, which is what the allopathic model calls, there I go again. Jason's trying to fix me here. So it boils down to the allopathics model of a label. Do you need a label? Everybody needs to ask themselves, do I really need this label? What is this label for? Because it's for the allopathic model in order to code you and put you in a group. And we can get really esoteric and talk about spells if you want to, because I think diagnoses are actually spells. They're casting a spell upon you when they give you a diagnosis. There it goes again, Jay. I apologize, everybody. This is probably going to happen until we work out the bugs here. They're actually casting a spell on you when they give you a diagnosis.
So that's an interesting point, because there was a study done back in the early 2000s. And basically how the study operated is they asked doctors to kind of do their normal, regular routine when they were giving somebody a life-altering information. You got cancer or something.
Right.
And what was happening is when the doctors would go in there and they'd be like, oh, sit down. I'm sorry, but you got cancer and it doesn't look good. When they do that, 90% of the patients were dying. But when they came in and said, hey, look, upbeat and happy and very, very, positive about it. Look, hey, you have this. It's not the end of the world. Things are going to get better. There's treatments for this. This is what we can do. We're going to start this immediately. Your chances are great. When
Think about the weight.
People survived.
Think about the weight of the word cancer. What cancer is? It's abnormal cells. Abnormal cells that are multiplying abnormally. If someone told you you have some abnormal cells that are multiplying abnormally, you go, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? But if someone says you have cancer, the weight, right? And especially those of us who have lost family members and close friends or family to cancer, it becomes a fear, like a blanket that you wear. Trust me, I've been through it. I've watched two. My aunt, who was like a mother to me, died at 40 years old of cancer. And they told her it was going to be 2 years from date of diagnosis till she died. Guess what? It was exactly 2 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a story. Many years ago, I heard this story, and it was one of the most remarkable. Well, it's a remarkable story because of how it happened. There was this older lady. She was in her 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and she had not been to the doctor in over 20 years.
Yeah.
And she goes into the doctor, she gets a checkup, and they find out that she has stage 4 terminal breast cancer.
Of course.
And they said that you must have been living with this for well over a decade.
Oh.
And she was dead within a few days.
Yes. Listen, if you're listening to this tonight, I want you to do this little experiment. If you've been diagnosed with something and you've had this diagnosis for a long time, I want you to start training your brain. Ask yourself, who are you without this diagnosis? So really try to and it can be really hard because if we get a diagnosis, especially when we're younger, we carry that through our life. It starts to become our identity. It's not just, Josh, it's now Josh with blank disease, right? And so it becomes really intertwined with who we are. It becomes part of our identity. So a little brain exercise that you can do is start spending time in your brain without the diagnosis. So who are you without the diagnosis? I've been not really meditating, it's more prayer, but just I bought these little lavender silk eye bag, like bean bags that you put on your eyes. And I've been just laying at night before bed, laying on the floor with the bean bag on my face. It's so relaxing, feels so decadent. And then just getting your body into a state of total relaxation without any labels, without your diagnosis. And one way you can start to get yourself into that state is ask yourself, who am I without this fill in the blank? This works, by the way, even if you don't have a diagnosis, right? If you have a child that's off the rails, say, who am I without this child who's off the rails? Who am I without this child being off the rails? Who am I without this toxic relationship? Who am I without this diagnosis? And feel the weight leave your body. And that's the state where you want to try to capture. That's a state where you're not carrying the burden of the world, if you will, right? The living in the reality and world. In the world, we have diagnoses. We have, kids that are off the rails. We have all these things, these responsibilities. But I'm asking you for 10 minutes. Get yourself into a state where you don't have any of these responsibilities. That's your true state of being. And we do not spend enough time there. And what happens is we spend a time on a neural pathway loop. You would be so surprised if you track your thoughts for 30 days. We were going to make a pie out of it. How much time did we think about making dinner? How much time did we think about this person? How much time did we think, what would your pie look like if you had to, divvy up how much time you're spending thinking about what?
X.
Many people would have a big chunk of that on their diagnosis. And so what does that do? What do we know? Everybody that watches this show, they think outside the box. So what does it do? You guys probably already know this. You bring about what you think about. So if you're spending your pie, if you will, all on your diagnosis, guess what you're getting more of? You're getting more of the diagnosis. You're getting more of the symptomology. You're getting more of the pain. You're getting more of the inflammation because that's where you're focusing. And I know it sounds woo-woo because there's been all kinds of new age BS type of stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, just think your way, manifest. I can't stand that word because I think it's a great word, but it's been it's so cliche now.
It's new age cliche.
Yes, it's so, but listen, God intended you to be well. You were born well. You're living in an environment that is toxified. Did you hear Bobby Kennedy announce this week, Josh, that Lyme disease was leaked from a lab?
I did.
Yeah.
That's
so
huge.
Listen, this is my belief. All dis-ease is man-made. All dis-ease is man-made. You were born whole. You were born ready to thrive. and excel in your life. But your environment, trauma, neural pathways that you built from 0 to 7 years old as a child, that formed your way of thinking. And then exposure to toxicity too. This is another variable that we're all dealing with. So what we have to do is try to remove all the worldly things and get our body into its true state. And the way you do that is by asking yourself, who am I without these variables in my life? And then the more time you spend in that peaceful state, in your true state of being, then the more used to it your brain gets. And so you start edging out all the bad thoughts, all the habits that create dysfunction in your body of thinking. When I'm talking about thinking here, habitual thinking, and you change your pie, if you will. So you start spending more time in possibility. You start spending more time in optimism. You start spending more time in hope, and less and less and less and less in symptomology and problems.
If you think about it from like a morphogenic standpoint, right? Rupert Sheldrake talks about morphogenic fields, and that we all have these energy fields of information. Mm-hmm. And if you think about that energy field is interacting with your external environment and various different things in your environment. Mm-hmm. And if we look at that as a two-way street, that's transmitting and receiving information, then when you begin to release that which no longer serves you, that field begins to transmute other stuff. It begins to say more positive stuff. And I mean, I like that other than manifest. I like looking at it in context that we have a morphogenic field, which is a resonant field of information surrounding us, and that the universe itself is interactory, that it's going to react to the information in that field. And if it's always,
it's science.
I'm not good enough, I'm horrible, and if it's always these things, you're going to get more of those situations and opportunities in life that reflect that. But once you start to be more positive and more oriented, and you start to release that which doesn't serve you, the field updates, and then the universe begins to update on how it's presenting towards you the various different opportunities.
Yeah, and you know what? It's somebody said something about the quantum physics, and how quantum is really, a lot of people think, well, it's woo woo, it's new age or whatever, but it's not. It's the science of woo woo. Quantum is the science of woo woo. So it's going to start making more sense to people, because there are so many people kind of getting the same downloads these days. Where this is where we need to focus our attention, is actually remembering who we are as humans. And so you're going to start hearing more and more, and very serious people are going to start talking about this. So it's not just crazy lady over here on Naturally Inspired that talks all that weird woo-woo stuff. You're going to start hearing a lot of people talk about this. This is your birthright. You were made to be well and thrive. You were not made to suffer. So it's time to let go of the suffering. Who are you without your diagnosis? Who are you without your pain?
I love that. Man. What do you got coming up?
Oh, I've got some exciting stuff. So I've got a little fun quiz for everybody tonight. So if you go to redpillhealth.info, I have a BioAge score available. So you can fill out some interesting, you don't want to know? You don't want to know? Stop. You want to know. It's as fun.
I don't want to fill that field with shit. And I mean that for myself. I'm just being. I'm going to go take it as well as everybody out there.
Redpillhealth.info. It's a BioAge score. So I've got some new products coming out. The Vivix, which everybody loves, the polyphenols, are being added to. So they have a plus now. They're going to have NAD in them and NMN, which those are two components for anti-aging, and just fantastic study on this. We just had a big conference, and this product, I can't even believe they're saying this, because you know how it is. Like the FDA, these are not FDA approved products, all that stuff, right? They always tell you got to be really careful about what you say. I'm not saying this. The company's saying this. This reversed cellular aging 8 years. 8
Dr. Davis'
years. So it is those powerful polyphenols, which you guys know about already because I've talked about them a lot here. Those are the red pills. And now they've added the NAD to it and the NMN. So that's a precursor to help your body really activate the NAD. So this is like a powerful combination. So for anyone who's dealing with inflammation, I would say it drops on the 17th of August for new customers. Okay, for new customers, if you're already an existing customer of mine, you can go and log into your account and check out some of the bundles. They have a bundle right now with 2 bottles of Life Plus collagen, which many of this audience is on the Life Plus collagen and love it. You can grab it with 2 bottles of Life Plus, the Vivix Plus, so Vivix NAD Plus, and you'll get a $10 creatine too. So anyway, all of this information, you can get it at redpillhealth.info when you fill out the BioAge score. So go to redpillhealth.info, fill out the BioAge score, and that will lead you to some of these bundles. And then text me if you have any questions about what should I get? Should I do this? Should I do that? That's what I'm here for, right? You get all my coaching. When you buy my products, you get my coaching. You get my health text line. So 720-303-8868 is my number. So just drop me a line. Let me know if you want to try it, if you have questions about it. But take the BioAge score and don't be afraid because your body is resilient. Okay, but it's time to face the music. Everybody, it's time to face the music. I want you, we are definitely, adapting to the new things that are coming into the world with AI and all of these different. I want you on your very best. I want you at your very, very best so you can benefit from all of this in the way that nature intended. I'm so glad you listened to that podcast.
I did. And I got to listen to it again. There's a lot of notes that I had on it.
Yes.
Very cool dude. I really like him. And I think that he's got some great ideas. I didn't agree with everything he said, but I definitely got some great
Who
ideas.
does? I can't agree with everybody either. But I was just excited because there's so much, I had so much overlap with him with things that I've been talking about on Naturally Inspired. Like this idea that being severed from nature is not good for us. It is not good for us.
I already started clearing out an area over in the tree line where I'm going to put a hammock so I can sleep outside for
Yes. Dude, we need it, man. You've got to be outside. I mean, I'm outside every day dealing with animals and all kinds of stuff here on our farm. And even when I'm away from it, like when I had to go to Massachusetts for my daughter and we were in the city, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go home. I need to get dirt on my hands.
I don't like cities. I don't like being in big cities.
It's terrible now for me. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, if I just, live so much outside that it's just such a contrast for me. I start to feel, I gotta get at home. I need space. I don't know how the people are living in these tight, cramped cities. I feel for you. I do.
I can't do it. I cannot do it, but we will have you back on next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And there's some AI news coming out too. And
I know
we need to do an update on Dr. David Sinclair and his FDA trials because I know that's
that.
Yeah, so we need to talk about that. For everybody out there, I'm going to be heading over to the OG show, over watching The Guardian with Alpha Warrior here in about 40 minutes. So make sure you guys go out and take a look at that. It'll be up here in just a little bit while. That the preview will be showing on all these channels. You can watch it right here. And then for Tammy, for everybody who wants to go connect with Tammy, I'm going to put that information back again. redpillhealth.info. redpillhealth.info or text her 720-303-8868. Tammy, I appreciate it. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Josh. Good night, Red Pillars. See you soon.
All right, guys. That is all I have tonight. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more of a lot of other things that we could talk about, but I do have to go get ready for the OG show with Alpha Warrior because he wants to do this whole topic tonight. So I'm going to go and put this up for you guys to listen to. And for some reason, this stuff just isn't working. Okay, I know where I can find it. Forget those guys. We're going to go directly over here. All right. I found what I was looking for. Okay. So OG show, guys, in about, well, let me see. It's about how long? 40 minutes. I will see you on over there. Don't forget to head over to redpills.tv, redpills.tv. And, oops, sorry, I was reading something. Redpills.tv, and check out our sponsors, check out ways to support and help us out. Sorry, I was distracted by a lot of different things happening right in front of my face. But much love, guys. Respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. And I will see many of you guys here in the OG show. Everybody else, I will see you again next time. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns to silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone, patriots rise. We are one. Children of freedom, stand for the light. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!